Earthlings.
Good day, morning, evening.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, it's easier, isn't
A
it?
new animal rights show. Nella's got a new setup, so nothing could go wrong.
No, nothing will go wrong.
No, of course not. Just do a bit of housekeeping, usual thing. The best chat is on my YouTube channel. This is going out to 2 Facebook pages as well. But if you want to chat along with the crowd, then you need to be on my Facebook channel. Sorry, my YouTube channel, and then chat away. We don't do super chats or any of that undemocratic capitalist stuff. So chat away, and we won't make you pay to have your voice heard. That's the way we roll, isn't it?
Certainly is, Dark. How is everyone doing in the chat anyway? I'd like to know how everyone is. Where are they tuning in from? And what time of day? Yes.
It'll just serve you right, wouldn't it, if people just write in my computer or something like that, you know? I'm tuning in from my computer. Yeah.
It would serve you right, actually, yeah.
Hey, Wendy, I was thinking, do you remember when I first came in, obviously it was all single issue, there was a lot of demos at hunt balls and this kind of stuff. I once went to one, I think it was Widnes, which is Merseyside, right? And do you know the kind of Huntsman's Coat song? The one that the Savs used to sing?
Oh, go on. Sing it.
The kind of, the Huntsman's coat is faded pink. It's not as red as people think. And one fine day will come to pass. We'll stick his red coat up his arse. So we were singing that, and the coppers actually threatened to arrest us, right? So we started.
What, for such bad singing?
It was my singing that did it. And so we changed it to the huntsman's coat is faded pink, not as red as people think. And one fine day it'll come to pass, we'll stick his red coat up his jumper. And so the police just...
You little teasers,
Oh, yes.
Teasing them.
We knew how to wind the cops up in those days, right? Okay, so we've got a few in, so welcome along, everyone. Now we've got a packed program, really. So shall we get on with it then?
Yeah, we can. Just to say, Deb's doing well, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Lorraine's tuning in from Dorset. Welcome, Michael. Where are you tuning in from? And you, Jennifer? I'm just a nosy person. I am a very nosy person. You're curious.
No time is 9 in the morning, is there?
I've done a day's work by 9 in the morning. I bet Deb has as well.
Yeah.
When you've got a crew to look after, that's well late in the day, isn't it, Deb?
Yeah, it's when all the sanctuary workers are coming back in for their breakfast after feeding everyone, isn't it? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we want to ask a question, which I suppose it was, we were kind of talking privately about whether humanity has got so kind of irredeemably violent, you know, that it suggests that we're farther and farther away from the vegan message than ever. And sometimes it's hard not to think that. And I think, Wendy, you were saying, you know, does that imply that the co-founders of the social movement were a bit naive, which is a bit weird, really, when you think that they were coming out of a world war, and yet they were, when you look at it, incredibly optimistic, weren't they?
No, I wasn't asking that. I was saying the opposite of that, actually. I think someone else had asked that, whether the founders were naive, and I was saying, right. Okay. Absolutely, I don't think that at all. I think they were very inspiring and inspired as well. And I'm actually thinking about it, like you just said, coming out of the war, I think they, more than anyone, would have understood the capacities for violence that humanity have, having seen it, you know, and lived through it firsthand like that. So I doubt very much it was naive, but a very courageous stance to take.
Yeah, I agree with that. And somebody's celebrating Orban losing already. That's quite good. I'm breaking up. Sound-wise or physically?
Don't make me laugh, Roger.
Oh yeah. I've got to tell the chat that Wendy doesn't want to laugh as it gets a coughing. So if you can crack some jokes during the show, I'll put them on the screen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very kind, very kind.
So Nella, do you think that humanity is just overwhelmingly violent and there's not much we can do about that, or what?
Well, I think we are a very, very violent animal, but sometimes I despair and I feel that we'll never get anywhere. But most of the time, I feel that people, as in persons and people, are going to a better place. Things that were considered normal, oppressive things 20 years ago are not today. And I think that we should not conflate people with their governments, because the governments are violent. Capitalism is violent inherently. There is all this stuff. But then you see, a rise in solidarity. You see people in the streets protesting about someone else's rights. So most of the time, I believe that we are heading to, to a better place as humans. Or maybe I am naive.
Yeah, so you're sharing the founders' optimism, which I always try and do, and I know that Tom Reagan used to say that. He used to say stuff like that. I remember even people like Francione used to say, because when he was discussing things like burnout, he used to say, well, I don't have a right to burn out, which I kind of understand what he means, but it's kind of a wrong thing to say, really. But I don't know, I suppose it's just the last 2.5 years or so that is starting to feel very kind of overwhelming, in terms of what's going on. And you can't really go past the analysis that, Trump has had such a negative impact on the world that you've got somebody who is obviously a very oppressive person and obviously personally violent and part of apparently an elite group of people who were in this kind of sex trafficking ring and stuff. And I think it kind of seeps in the end and kind of like weighs you down a little bit. At least it has for me anyway.
No, I do relate very much to what you're saying there, Roger, actually, because I've felt that way as well in the last few years. And since COVID, actually, I think the COVID lockdowns and all of that, it's kind of, the world seemed to just change from then. But just going back to the whole, are humans inherently violent? I think when I was kind of thinking about this and looking into this, as to what does the science say about this? In 1986, back in the 80s, Roger, back in the 80s, so there was a group of scientists, they were leading global scientists, and they released something called the Seville Statement on Violence, and this was later adopted by UNESCO. But in that piece, they concluded that it's not correct to say that we've inherited a violent brain as such. Or even that war or aggression are just instinctive for us. So they basically said that we have the neural apparatus, obviously, brain function to act violently, but that nothing actually in our neurophysiology compels us to be violent. So it's not, like we are just instinctively just violent. And obviously then it comes down to nature versus nurture. And actually, if you think about how we've evolved as a species, a lot of the reason we've evolved and been so successful is because we've depended and still do depend on cooperation between each other. We rely on each other to work together, to share resources, to show empathy. And that's actually pushed the evolution of our species much more than our ability to kill. So, you know, so that tells us really that more so it's culture and environment that bring about so much violence. And so what you said then about Trump and that whole kind of filtering downward, it's the environment that we're in, isn't it? That's showing us violence is the way, is key, is how we just normalize it so much. So then what's normal just gets passed down and perpetuated as a culture.
As far as I can gather, with the nature nurture debate, it used to be, you know, one way or the other, and now everybody's seeing it as some kind of blend on a spectrum, and then it's a question of you know, where that spectrum is, and to some extent what we can do to move it around. Because, for example, even if you go on the nurture side of it, and then people are born into a capitalist system which encourages competition, encourages people to look down on the poor, encourages people to think that the poor are the ones who are creating social problems for them and all this kind of stuff. And so, you know, that is you know, very much a kind of negative thing, it seems to me. And I think this is why a lot of vegans are skeptical about whether we can get veganism within the capitalist structure, because it's such a violent competitive thing, whereas it goes against that, you know, what you might call that natural cooperation.
Yeah, and mutual aid, because do you remember when we had Laura on the show, 5 shows, I think it might have been, exploring the whole mutual aid thing? I mean, that's really interesting, isn't it? And we see that across our fellow animals, that there's, like, you know, because our fellow animals are always depicted, especially on nature programs, as being, you know, it's you know, the survival of the fittest, and they're always killing each other to survive and all of that. Everyone focuses on that in nature, but actually way more in nature you see mutual aid and cooperation between, like, within species and across species as well. And so it's interesting to think about how we value survival of the fittest so much as a narrative, much more so than mutual aid and cooperation.
Yeah, there's a couple of things in the chat. Yeah, Trump has had a go at.
Oh, Lorraine, you're going to send me.
Yeah, Trump's had a go at the Pope. The Pope, the Pope made a speech in which he criticised human warfare, and
yes.
So Trump has attacked the Pope, which is kind of difficult, isn't it? And then we've
for
got
wanting peace. I know you couldn't make it up, could you?
The peace president, because in one of his speeches, you know, during his campaign, he actually said, "I am peace." He just declared himself as peace. So, and now he's war. So, you know, he's putting out all these weird memes. So his latest ones is he's dressed as Jesus. You know,
he's put that out.
Yeah. Because the Iranians are putting out some really vicious ones about him, but he's putting out. But also, he sometimes puts out ones where he's a gladiator and stuff like that. So it's kind of all over the place. Humans are trained to be violent. Division and conflict serves the hierarchy. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So
serves the hierarchy, serves the ruling class, serves, like we were saying earlier, the profiteering of capitalism as well, like divide, and we're all just units of consumption, aren't we?
Yeah, I had a look at the latest research, or what I could find last couple of days about nurture and nature, and there's still a big claim that there's a gender divide, that most violence comes from men, and most victims of violence are also men. But of course, the perpetrators, whether, you know, whoever they attack, they are the perpetrators. So that's an interesting one. I mean, I remember the kind of 70s days when people used to say, if the world was run by women, it would be a peaceful world. You know, that kind of essentialism and stuff, which is being rejected now. But, you know, there is something in that, in the sense that, again, it has been shown that women would look towards negotiation and cooperation to solve problems rather than immediately going for weaponry, right?
And the patriarchy trains men to be violent and aggressive anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't claim that they were born more aggressive or violent, but they are trained to be while growing up.
Yeah, if you look at things like sex role socialization, things like they did some really interesting stuff about the kind of toys that children get bought, and of course the boys get tanks and guns, and the girls get dolls and everything. And they did this really interesting research where they dressed a baby up in blue, and everyone therefore oriented towards the baby as male. And so if the baby cried, they were kind of trying to jolly them out of it, kind of, come on then, let's have a fight, all this kind of stuff. And then the same baby was then the same baby was dressed in pink, and then the reaction was, oh, poor baby, let's calm you down, right? So there was a real kind of gendered reaction from a kind of parental or caring point of view. So it really is taught to us that there's this difference, and it must play out in the end.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a blueprint, isn't it? You're even from the womb, you're adapting to the environment that your mum's in. She's a stressed out mom and all of that stuff. And then as soon as you're born, it is a blueprint of how to behave, isn't it? That conditioning of what sex you're born with, and therefore what gender you're given to play out in the world, kind of thing. So,
the urban bongo.
The urban bongo. Hello. Testosterone levels probably make male humans. That's funny actually, because I was thinking about this the other day, and I was saying a very similar thing. But I do remember reading a book once, which was all about human behavior and neuroscience, and it was a really, really long book. No idea how I ever got to the end of it, but I did. And what I took from that was, and they did cover testosterone in that, about violence and how it affects you. And I think it's still a little bit vague of how testosterone actually, or how much it affects the male violence and things like that. I think we ascribe it to that, but again, like you said there, it's exacerbated by the patriarchal norms and things, and it's sometimes hard to disentangle that. But what I got from this book was very much that the nature versus nurture argument. He kind of looked through a whole history of, it starts off with someone's pointing a gun at someone and they pull the trigger, and then he kind of traces that event back right into the womb of, like, where does it all start? How are our brains shaped? And the conclusion he kind of came to, and through all the research and everything, was that actually there are predispositions in humans, obviously, for certain things, and certain individuals will have predispositions for certain traits. But most of the most influential thing for all of us at all times is our environment, and that plays out massively, more than we can realize, in every behavior that we have, and our cultural norms and everything.
Did it talk about in that book, did it talk about that the data on testosterone came from experiments on our fellow animals? Because how do you measure levels of testosterone?
And there were elements, I can't remember that one specifically, but there are always elements of the testing being on our fellow animals, which is always really disturbing and horrific when you're reading it. And I can't remember, and it's because it's so long ago now, I'm a bit vague on the details, but I do vaguely remember that it wasn't as stark a confirmation of, if you're male and therefore you've got more testosterone, therefore you're more aggressive and violent. It wasn't quite as conclusive as that, let's say.
It's interesting the way that non-vegans use that, though, don't they? Because they're always trying to suggest that vegan men are effeminate and they're lacking in testosterone, and then you've got this slur, soy boy type thing, and then this thing about that soy has got estrogen, which will create man boobs and all this kind of stuff, which I believe is not even true. But culturally, it is interesting the fact that because non-vegans tend to almost have some kind of script, don't they? What about protein? What about crop deaths? What about this? And all that, and that's definitely one of them. This assumption that vegans are weak. We had interesting things where people come up to the stall in Dublin, and there's Declan stood there from the sanctuary, massive strapping guy, really strong guy.
He's a big guy, isn't he?
Rosy red because he's outside all the time. And this guy comes up and he goes, "Oh, you vegans, you're all thin, skinny, weak, and pale." And there's Declan stood in front of him, right?
And Declan just wants to prove him wrong. Give him a little slap. I'm only joking, Declan. Of course, we're not violent. But that brings us into that whole anti-vegan thing. Seamlessly brings us into a little bit of a subcategory around this as well. And we were talking about how, because of what we're looking at as humans being inherently violent or not or whatever, but basically the way the world is at the moment, and how despite that, so as the title says, against the odds, we keep fighting for a vegan world. And then one thing we were looking at as part of that is anti-vegan attitudes and rhetoric. And in fact, we have a few examples. I don't know which one we want to start with. I don't know if Nella wants to talk us through a little bit of...
Well, I'll put up the pictures and you can talk about the reaction, Nella. Yeah, is that all right? So,
yes.
Okay, so
it was Easter Sunday yesterday here, and last Tuesday, a vegan organization called Vegan Life NGO organized a protest against slaughter. Is what you see in the picture. It happens every year. So you have, it's a peaceful one. You have people holding placards, and then you have other people out in the perimeter, giving out leaflets and talking to those who choose to stand and ask questions and express opinions, whatever. It was completely peaceful. So after that, I photographed the whole event, and I also took part in it. After that, I shared the photos in a post, and the NGO did the same, and a number of activists did the same. And the hate we got, the hate comments, were out of this world. It was extraordinary. Only in my profile, in a few hours, I got 260 hate comments. And which is interesting is that although it was very local about Easter in Greece, which, by the way, if you don't know, you can look it up. It's very violent. We have atrocious traditions, concerning our fellow animals. So it was very local. But then the hate comments were the hate comments you read about veganism everywhere. We are talking actually about it, how similar they were. Also, it was very interesting that these people felt threatened. They kept writing, "You cannot forbid us to consume whatever we want." And there were a lot of sexist comments, especially about abortions. So and homophobic ones, racist ones. So the interesting part is that the non-vegans see veganism or vegans as those who stand not only for our fellow animals, but also for other oppressed groups. And I find it very interesting because this is not happening, across the movement. I don't know, Roger, what sociology has to say about that, about the hatred expressed by the opposition.
You talk about online reactions, because presumably in terms of on the street, it wouldn't have been the same, right?
No, it was not the same. But as I was standing there with my placard, there were these young guys, passing by, and one of them was talking on the phone, and he was saying, "They are standing here. Do you want to come?" I'm not saying that we should beat them up, but let's make fun of them. And there were other, mostly are men who do that. Other group of guys passing by and making jokes about it. One woman too, but it was just a few comments. Although in online it was extraordinary. I had to turn off the comments at the end. I was not disturbed by what they were saying, because we have heard those comments 1,000 times. I was disturbed by the pictures they post, although with body parts.
Yeah, they always think that if they show us a picture of a butcher shop or a slaughterhouse, we've never seen them before or something, we're going to faint or something, don't they?
Yeah.
That's really common, isn't it? That it follows a pattern, like you were saying, that there's similarities when you see any kind of activist post or vegan memes and all that kind of stuff. You get a kind of pattern of, they'll mock vegans by posting pictures of our fellow animals being violated, pictures of so-called meat, and also another thing that I've seen a little bit lately, and I don't know if you've come across this as well, is people are now posting they're literally about to go off and eat lots more flesh in order to counteract that vegan person. So it's like, right, you're vegan, you think you've saved this many animals, I'm just about to go and eat this many animals. And I even saw someone posted a video of them eating flesh the other day in order to say, I'm eating this, I'm stuffing myself with flesh in order to counter the vegan thing, and that's becoming a bit of a thing now as well.
Many comments were like that. We had comments saying, we are on our third lamp right now, and we'll have a fourth just for you, for your sake.
Yes, that's it, just for you. It's almost like, because you've posted this, I'm going to go and do this, and therefore you've caused more harm by expressing your vegan attitude. Yeah, so that's but you do get a lot of that.
You get that in feminist spaces. Do you get that in feminist spaces where people come on and saying, because you're doing this, I'm going to engage in more domestic violence? Presumably not, but I mean, is that a thing?
They wouldn't do it openly though, because it's illegal.
No. Yeah, I think that's the difference, isn't it? They're doing what they see as natural, normal, legal, and all of that stuff. So,
and we had a lot of comments about how normal and this is, and how it adheres to the Christian values, and veganism is a thing of Satan.
Yeah. We're all devil worshippers here. Absolutely.
Do you know what's Satan? Is that what you said?
It's funny about the in-person thing though, because it is definitely less, but in a similar kind of event that I take part in, where we're standing in formation like this, we often get young guys, and they will literally come and try and disrupt the whole thing. They will walk round, or they'll be on their bikes, weaving in and out, and like coming up to us and pulling faces. But I did once get spat on, which at the time it took me all of my power to stay calm. And I think that's the thing. Like we see all these messages, and we can kind of develop a little bit of a thick skin and go, oh, I'm not gonna get involved. I'm not gonna write back because I'm not gonna give them airtime. I'm not gonna waste my energy. But when you're in person and someone's literally physically doing something to you, or in protest when the security guards are trying to drag you out or push you or pull you, it's the hardest thing not to again, coming back to violence and like the violent thing, not to push back, or not to defend yourself in an equal way. And I just wonder, and actually, Roger, you were quite violently hit by a policeman, I imagine, a truncheon. And how did you
policeman, yeah.
How did you react?
Well, I didn't react at all because I was knocked onto the floor and
Okay.
then and when I came up I felt my cheek and it was like a big hole in it because I remember saying to somebody, "There's nothing there," and so then it was a question of priority was medical treatment or something in trying to find out what had happened. So I wouldn't have been able to react anyway. But anyway, it was from behind a shield, so I couldn't have retaliated in the first place. So.
Yeah,
Did you,
yeah. No.
Nelly? That you said that they seem to have this interesting kind of almost ironic assumption that of kind of social justice across the board and all that. But did you also get the other side of it? Is why are you concentrating on the animals when there's X going on in the world?
Oh yes, yes. There were comments like that. Mainly ironic ones. Oh yes, we've resolved everything. Everything is okay now. We can, worry about our fellow. They didn't say fellow animals. They just say animals. So yes, we got that too. We also got a comment. Weird one. We were called leftist zombies.
And why not?
Yeah.
Right. So where do we go now, Wendy?
Oh, where do we go now? Leftist zombies, Satan worshippers. Well, I've heard it all now. I think it just made me think as well on a thread that I saw the other day. Someone literally was disgusted that vegans were trying to save fellow animals because the Epstein files were running, and it's like, how can anyone think of anything else now? The Epstein files are open; it puts everything else into insignificance. And thinking, wow, people will just choose anything to and obviously the Epstein files is horrendous. I totally agree, but it's almost like it's just choose one thing and then say you can't defend fellow animals anymore because of that thing. Where do we go next? So do you want to show
let's tackle this one from Deb, because I had this this very day, this morning. There was somebody who was very anti-vegan. I think they seem to have created a Facebook profile in order to comment, and they started the comment with like an ableist slur each one to me and all that, and so I deleted about 7 comments from them, and then somebody suggested that I block them. Now I don't usually block people, but there are times when I guess you have to. But I mean, do you have like a policy? I mean, I know you said that you turned the comments off.
Yeah, because I got tired of seeing the pictures of the body parts and sad. But I had the same discussion with some fellow activists who were at the protest, and I was asking if I should block some of them or delete the comments, and they said do not bother with these people. And I think that they are right. I mean, there was not any serious argument against veganism. There were accusations about vegans not really caring about our fellow animals, since apparently we did nothing when the government killed thousands of them because of the sheep pox. So some fellow activists answered, explaining about demand. But I don't think that a person who gets in someone other's Facebook profile and write a hate comment, not just any comment, a hate comment, has much possibility of improvement. So I won't bother answer. I try not to answer back, just to to vent off.
I tend to agree with this one here from Lorraine because, well, first of all, you've got that issue of, I think it's quite good. I've always felt this from the 90s, that if the vegan in a conversation seems rational and calm, and the other person is swearing and all the rest of it, and just going off on one, I think that tells its own tale. And then there's the other aspect, which is that new and recent vegans, I think they watch the comment section because they're trying to get an inkling about what you would say. I'm not quite sure how I would answer that. And so when they see somebody doing that, then I think that might help in a movement sense. I mean, you know, not in every case, of course, but I've always thought that when you're having a conversation with somebody, even if they're being belligerent, it's the audience that is getting the education. Because there's some people clearly, like the person that we've got a video of, that doesn't seem capable of learning, because that's not what they're there for. They're there to grandstand, you know, and you do get people coming up. You know, you do get students coming up in Dublin, and they're almost like, you know, oh, I can take on these vegans. And there's this kind of aggressive kind of debate mode that people go into, which I hate anyway. You know, because you know, when I did a recent thing with an animal welfare, I did a debate with an animal welfarist recently, and he wanted to characterize it as a debate, and I said I'd rather characterize it as a conversation. So we put it out on our separate channels. It was a debate, you know, versus, you know, Roger versus, you know, all this kind of stuff. Whereas to me, I said it's a conversation, which I'd much prefer.
No, I agree, because I think the whole debate thing, it's all that, it's that this versus that, it's that binary, isn't it? That hierarchical, patriarchal, this versus this, and this is inferior, and it's quite toxic, probably.
Yeah, it is very patriarchal. You know, that kind of, you know, you've got to have a winner. It's going to be me, and you know,
winner,
it's kind of, you know, not
also,
let the other people speak and that kind of stuff.
I suppose the more comments there are on a post as well means that post gets seen by more people as well, because it's pushed more by the platform, isn't it? Like, you know, the algorithms and everything, I imagine. The more interaction it has, then the more it's going to get pushed out there.
Well, it's a balance, because I mean, Nella's suggesting that, you know, you were kind of protecting your own mental health in a way, weren't you? You know, in the end. So
yes,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, maybe it's for the user not to go back in and read it all. Just leave it sitting there and just go, right, that's not under my control anymore. Just leave it.
And to be honest, I was thinking that what they're trying to, you know, to gain with that is to make you answer to them. So I thought that indifference may piss them off more. And then I thought, okay, if they are trying to write a comment and they cannot, that maybe will do the job better. So yeah, I was kind of vindictive.
Well, rightly so.
I think the danger of just leaving it is that people will assume, they'll make a point, it's not answered, and then they'll claim that it's not answered because you can't answer it, not that you won't. You know, so there's
or that you're scared, or you've gone off, snowflake. That.
So,
but on a practical level, I mean, if I had to answer to 250 comments, I would have to, you know, to write all day.
Yeah, be a full-time job, wouldn't it? Can you imagine? Should we show one of the? Yeah. Which one? I don't mind.
Well, I've got Fernando, the ABBA song lined up, or do you want something else?
I was just wondering if we're showing. We can talk about Fernando, because I was going to come on to more like anti-vegan attitudes from in the leftist movement, or one of those old tropes. But
I can take that down and load something else. What do you want? Do you want the woman, the?
Because those two are quite quick, aren't they? Those two, I'm thinking. Yeah. We could go with the little. Was it Junk Soul? Is that right?
Oh, that was just a slide, wasn't it? The one that.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Wait a minute, then I can get you that. Yeah, because I've still got the slides up here. Now this is interesting in lots of weird ways, isn't it? So do you want to tell the story, Wendy? Somebody goes into a cafe or restaurant, not knowing it was vegan. They seem to enjoy the meal, and then find out it was vegan. It's one of those kind of, I've been duped or something, right? And so they're complaining, you know. It wasn't
so they
until
put a
we
comment.
finished eating and we were about to leave that my partner noticed a bunch of vegan propaganda plastered all over the place. So they didn't have any complaints about the food.
No.
Until they were able to put the label vegan on it. So, I mean, that from a movement point of view is quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because you do hear that a lot from people, in that as soon as people hear the word vegan, they suddenly have some kind of reaction to it. Whereas if you didn't say, oh, this food is vegan friendly, they wouldn't. They'd just probably enjoy the food. This has happened on a personal note to me with someone that I used to know, isn't around anymore. But they had a plant.
You killed them, did you?
Yeah, obviously my cooking killed them. But they had a plant-based meal, and then because it was it was one of those kind of meat substitute things, and they really enjoyed it. And when I said, oh, well, did you know that was plant-based, or I said vegan, and then she was like, I knew it. I knew there was something wrong with that. And I just thought, no, you didn't. And then why are you suddenly saying there's something wrong with it? It's almost like there's this association of, if it's vegan, oh no, you're missing out on something, or it's under par, it's inferior in some way. And obviously this is what these people are thinking. This is somehow maybe inferior, but also it's like you said, they've been duped, and it's like they're really offended that they weren't told beforehand, because then they would have chosen to go elsewhere. But I think it's almost like they're comparing, because people under the comments of this were saying, oh, imagine that the other way around. Imagine if vegans were eating non-vegan friendly food, imagine the reaction to that. But it's not like for like, is it? Because non-vegans eat plants, they don't just eat non-vegan food, do they? They eat plants all the time. So I don't understand why they would be so, almost harmed by this. They're making out almost like this was harmful to them in some way. Yeah, so it's a very strange one.
Reported it to the local authority, they say at the bottom line there.
Yes.
I mean, on what basis? False advertising or something, which that wouldn't even be true, would it?
No. Well, I imagine not.
If you just said Jim's Burgers, right? I don't think you'd be able to say that automatically assumes it's going to be the flesh of our fellow animals, right? So I don't think anyone could really put up a.
But also then you've got the contrast of this saying we didn't realize it was vegan, and then there's vegan propaganda all over the notice board. So it's not like they were hiding it anyway. They just hadn't noticed, the vegan leaflets and stuff, had they? So it's very strange. But there was one comment on there which I loved, which was basically someone, oops, I ate a plant and I liked it, taken from that Katy Perry song, I Kissed a Girl and I just thought that was really a little gem. I really liked that.
Well, look at this line though. We looked over the menu again and realized it was all vegan. Why hide that fact? Well, how is it hidden? I mean, you've mentioned the propaganda everywhere, but also presumably the menu, because they can read it on the menu again. So that means that they virtually didn't read the menu in the first place. Otherwise, they would have gone, oh, hang on, this is a vegan place, we're out of here, before they even ordered, right?
Yeah. Maybe they're the plant police. Maybe they're the plants have feelings too, please,
Oh, well, we've got a video with that, haven't we? So
of course. See how seamless we are today? It's just
well, give me a second, because I'm going to have to reload something in its place then, okay? So
just sing us the Hunt song again while you're doing it.
No.
Okay.
You'll only take the mickey if I did that. It was torture enough to do it in the first place. Right, remove that. Remove from studio. Okay, now this is actually really interesting. There's been a lot of debate clips. I failed to write down the name. Jubilee, was it Jubilee 100 or so? There's been one of those situations.
There's a lot of these debates, this person
Yeah,
doing debates.
where there's one person surrounded by 50 others, and they all run to the center and all that, and they've got a couple of minutes or something. And so there's yeah, don't worry, I won't torture anyone. Don't worry. So this is one. Now, this is an example of a kind of person who is just there to completely just take the mickey, right? Because I think it's fairly clear that this person doesn't believe what they're saying, but it's that cultural thing about, well, I'm going to say something against vegans and everybody's going to love me for it type thing, right? And so there's loads going on. So I'll show it and then we come back to that. If I can get my funny equipment working. There you go.
It's murder.
Dude, don't do this. Come on, you're joking.
You're ripping it from the ground. You're ripping it from its mother.
I'll start it again.
Killing plants is murder.
Dude, don't do this. Come on, you're joking.
You're ripping it from the ground. You're ripping it from its mother. It's murder. And I enjoy the trivial pleasure of doing what the lions, with the hyenas, with the tigers have done for history.
So you think plants can feel pain?
Yes, they can.
So you want to reduce that pain?
You know why?
Do you want to
Because I have an azalea, and when I don't give it enough light, that thing dies, so it feels it.
Yeah, I think
so
killing
plants have feelings too.
Right. Do you think we should reduce the amount of pain that plants are experiencing?
Yes, we should. Plants matter. Hashtag plants matter.
Okay. So according to Hannah Ritchie 2022, you get a 75% reduction in all of the land that you need for farming. So if, given the fact you're getting 40 to 1 in your calories and 30 to 1 in your protein from plants to animals then slaughtered, you get a 75% decrease in the plants that you're going to kill
This is how
if you
we've
go
been
vegan.
living for history. And I have to say this. When
Okay.
I go and don't give my fern enough light, it feels. Okay? When
Well,
I don't give it any water, it feels.
Right, two things. I'll let you do whatever that was. So you'll hear me out. The first thing to say is that we don't want to. In philosophy, we call it the principle of parsimony. That just basically means we don't want to attribute unnecessary attributes to something if we can explain it without positing it. What does that mean? Plants don't have central nervous systems, and their behavior can be explained without positing that they have minds that can experience pain,
But they
pleasure,
still have
happiness,
feelings.
and stuff. No, they don't. There's no
Plant
reason to think
lives
that.
matter.
No, they don't.
They do.
They don't.
They do.
The
They
second
get
thing-
sunlight, photosynthesis.
Just quickly.
They
No, because I don't want to
feel.
do the natural argument as well, and I want to get this one out of the way really quickly. I'll see if I can do it in 30 seconds, and I promise it'll be really quick. The argument they gave from nature is one of the biggest, one of the worst arguments for being an anti-vegan. And why? Because there are lots of things that are predisposed through our natures that we shouldn't follow, right? We're naturally predisposed towards war, lying, cheating, stealing. That's part of the Christian tradition. They think St. Augustine of Hippo.
But what about to the
we should
caveman
avoid doing that.
times? The caveman times, the cavemen lived. They lived off of eating meat. So what is the big deal?
Well, they ate very
I
little.
love me a juicy burger. And why should I be denied that when you guys are murderers too?
You know,
ripping a poor plant from its mama, from the mother earth. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
Yeah,
and we're out of time, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Almost like she's really almost like she's dropped the mic and gone, see, I've really like put you in your place there, isn't it? Like I've won. But the arguments were just like we've heard this a million times a day as a vegan.
I mean, first of all, if you want to take her seriously, and I don't, because I think it's just shallow showboating more than anything, right? And so this thing about, well, if you don't water your azalea, the plant will die. That doesn't mean they feel anything, you know. So that was mixed up anyway. So it was just one of those things where they saw the opportunity just to kind of grandstand some vague, shallow, anti-vegan kind of sentiments. And again, from a sociological point of view, the interesting bit is the other people clapping along.
In the background, yeah.
Yeah, because that's a good point. And you think, what the fuck?
Well, it's not. And
Good point, right?
not a good point at all.
No.
Yeah.
So, but you see, in some ways, it doesn't matter. And I mean, that goes back to what I've said before. Remember, I said when I was on that animal rights debate thing in the 1990s, people would say all kinds of ridiculous things. You know, I think I was one of two vegans. It was me and Lee Hall, and we were kind of debating all these people, and they would say ridiculous things, and other people were going, "Yeah, that's right," you know, all this kind of stuff. The same type of thing, you know, clap, clap, clap. And you were thinking, well, if you're going to cheer things that you can't even comprehend, you know, I mean, that's one of the main problems of, you know, going back to the idea of engaging with the comment section. Quite often, you'll get people commenting, and I'm not actually quite sure what they mean. You know, what they say doesn't really make any sense. You know, the grammar's all over the place. You've got to separate all the sentences out, you know, all that kind of thing. You've got to do a lot of work to interpret what you think they've said. And you're doing all that work, and somebody else is coming in and said, I agree with every word that person says. And you're thinking, well, since half of it doesn't make any sense, how can you?
I know it's like the vegan has to be on point, have every little bit of data, every fact, you know, really articulate. And then the non-vegan can just come out with a load of crap, and spiel, and everyone's like clapping on, because it's almost like the position of being the anti-vegan is the valued position, and everyone's going to support that no matter what she says. They're going to support that. And it's almost like that's virtue signaling in itself, isn't it? That because vegans are quite a mocked and hated group generally, as research shows, it's almost like you're just, it's that virtue signaling against the vegan, and you can say whatever you want. And I think that is what goes on in the trolling as well. It's like everyone knows, even though they've heard bacon though 300 billion trillion times, saying it is almost like, oh, we're still going to laugh at it. Even we're still going to laugh because it's just pushing that button of, we just don't like you. And it doesn't matter what we say.
Well, Deb brings up an interesting movement question, because this is a similar thing. Remember, there was a debate. Well, there's a couple of things. John Curtin once did this thing about, he lived with a farmer for a week, Living with the Enemy it was called. And there was this kind of BBC kind of request put out amongst kind of vegans. Do you want to live with the farmer? We'll call it Living with the Enemy and all that kind of stuff. Most people said no, there won't be any point, the way that Deb is saying, you know, this, and it's kind of true. It's a movement question. It's similar that, I don't know when you remember when Joey Carbstrong and other people started going on the Piers Morgan show, you know, and I think Julia Gillette from Viva, they all trotted up there, and you knew that he wasn't going to let you get a full sentence out, and he would come up with the usual stuff about avocados and bees, you know, all this kind of stuff. And so it does raise that question: what is the point when you know that you're going to get that type of shallowness thrown at you and everybody else is going to applaud? Is it just a question that, you know, how many normies, let's use that phrase, watching it weren't there, are going to go, oh yeah, she sorted that vegan out? Or would they cringe as well, the way that you know, people in our comments have done, and we did? You know, what would I'm loath to say ordinary person make of it? What do you think?
That would depend on the person, I think. Some people might watch that and think they gave that vegan a hard time, and actually it would have been. But I think if you're already watching someone like what's his name? You just said his name. I can't remember. Morgan. That's it. So I've obliterated his name from my database in my brain, because it just makes me want to vomit every time I hear his name. But anyway, that if you're watching that already, you've already made your mind up in a way about what you think. Maybe, I don't know. Some people might be open-minded, but I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about people watching that.
Yeah, I don't know what the premise of this show is.
Yeah.
Have you seen it before, Nella? This format of some.
No, that was news to me. But I just want to say that I don't believe that anyone really believes this argument about plants. No one using it. It's a ridiculous argument, and they know it. And she was laughing.
Yeah.
They know it. We had it in the comments in my profile about carrots feeling pain, tomatoes feeling pain, whatever. They actually eat salad with their, with their flesh. So they do not care about the lettuce or the, mushroom or the cucumber, whatever. They are just saying it, and I don't think that we should engage when they make these points, because they are not really points. I mean, I would answer to someone about crop deaths, because this may be a legitimate question, but not about tomatoes feeling pain.
Yeah, and it's not even like they are saying they care about the tomatoes. They're just saying that, well, you're a hypocrite because you're standing up for fellow animals, but you're not standing up for the tomatoes. That's what they're really saying, isn't it? It's like they're making a jokey point about, you're just a hypocrite because plants feel pain and you don't care about them, so why should I care about, it's all that, isn't it?
Isn't it interesting, though, that the tomatoes suddenly become vegan food, as though they never go near a tomato?
I know. It's quite. I'm wondering if Lorraine's watching the program just slightly behind, because Lorraine's comments come up a little bit later. That I'm because I'm not sure.
Thing. I don't know.
Was it? Oh, I'm not. It might be. Thank you, Lorraine. Anyway. The Jubilee format seems to be either a platform to educate on critical thinking.
There's a good word. Ignoramus.
Ignoramus.
So, Wendy, do we want? You've got a choice between Seb and Fernando. Yeah.
Fernando. Yes. So this was.
That's his second name, Fernando Ferdinand.
Fernando C. I couldn't find his surname without going back through the whole video, and Fernando C. But yeah, this was basically bringing up anti-vegan pushback, which is sometimes heard in other leftist movements as well. So, people who might be fighting for other social justice movements, but have anti-vegan rhetoric, because they'll say things like, individual consumer choices like veganism is a form of privileged moralism and ignores systemic class struggles. But the other day, I was watching a video from Apex Advocacy, and I think you might have seen this as well, Roger. Nelly, did you manage to see this one as well? The video from Apex?
I'm not sure which one. I'm not sure.
And there was just a really good example of this. They played a few videos from three content creators, basically, not to shame them or to be very highly critical, just to kind of deal with the topics. They're very much they're not calling out in a way. They're kind of doing in-reach, and they're a lot of solidarity across movements from Apex, so they're not doing it in a shameful way. But this was just a really interesting point from this video, which Roger is now going to show you.
Wow.
Ta-da!
The food system that is centered in animal agriculture is built on settler colonialism. Why that doesn't apply? That only applies when we're talking about veganism. I really don't know. So I really and me as a person from South America, I really cringe when I hear people say like, "Hey, these vegans cannot take my carne asada away." I'm like, well, your carne asada was not really. It's not just the body of a dead animal, but it was never yours to begin with. Like, it's European food. Furthermore, Europeans also banned growing native foods because they thought it was, as they used to call it, food for Indians. So the most prominent example of that is quinoa. Quinoa was banned. It was illegal to grow. And today we eat quinoa because somebody said, well, screw these guys. We're going to just grow it somewhere. And they couldn't I tell people every time you eat quinoa, you're really eating indigenous resistance, because if they had complied, that food would have been gone. Very ironic and kind of sad that now the left brings it full circle, and now foods like quinoa are now white foods and privileged foods.
Right. So that was Sebastian doing the applause.
He uses the applause sound effect, doesn't he, Christopher Sebastian? Yeah.
But I do have sound effects. That's even better. And now Wendy is going to make her announcement.
Am I?
And I thought I missed something.
I think I missed it as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we rehearsed that well, didn't we? No. I just meant you were going to say something about what we've just seen.
Oh, okay. No, I think it's just really interesting, isn't it? That's often a trope that people will say, oh, well, quinoa, for example, quinoa is, it's very white veganism. It's very much privilege, and only wealthy people can have this. When actually he's saying that food would not even exist if it wasn't for the indigenous people of South America and Colombia, I think in particular. He was talking about, he's from Colombia, growing that food as resistance to the colonizers who were trying to ban it. And so, it's saying you're eating resistance. So I think it's just it's how things are framed, isn't it? Where you can really, it's almost like things can be really spun and turned into being anti-vegan, where actually, if you're looking deeper into that, then actually, the so-called diet that people are defending now, often in these leftist spaces, are diets that are enforced by the colonizers. It's a European diet that's enforced on those countries.
I didn't know that thing about quinoa, did you? That they banned it.
No, I didn't. It was really enlightening, actually, to hear that. It's always it's really good to know things like this, actually, and to dig that little bit deeper, isn't it?
Yeah, I do remember from Richard Ryder's book, Animal Revolution, I think, or it could have been Jim Mason on Natural Order. They talked about when they arrived, because there's always this thing about, Columbus discovered, the Americas and all this kind of stuff. And of course, they were full of people already, but they classified them as a type of fellow animal because they didn't plant anything. And so they said that beings who don't plant food for themselves, are not human. So they found a way to immediately dehumanize them, which is just standard in terms of, when you invade a country and want to take over, you have to make them lesser than in all the different ways that you can.
Yeah. Oh, powerful, they took long journeys. That's interesting. Yeah, it's supposed to be a really amazing source of protein, isn't it? Like a really complete plant source of protein, quinoa. Very, very good. Cacao is used as a butter, high energy and easy to carry. It's really interesting to learn all these things, isn't it? Voldemort's turban's just joined. Voldemort's turban, hello. And what time do you call this? No, nice to see you. Nice to see you. And another one, just kind of going back to the whole leftist pushback to veganism as well. You do get that other one, don't you? That there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. And Apex have spoken a lot about this on their videos. I do definitely recommend going to check out Apex work
on Instagram
and Instagram and YouTube as well. They've got some really good discussions. But that often, I think, is basically used as a conversation stopper, isn't it, to deflect personal moral responsibility for fellow animal exploitation. It's almost like a get out of jail free card in a way. It's like, oh, but I don't want to change this about my behavior because there's no ethical consumption at all. But it's almost like it's by claiming that it's like trying to claim that all consumption is equal when actually it isn't. So you're creating a false moral equivalence with that, really, because you can't compare, buying some beans and lentils with a product that's required the breeding, the confinement and the murder of one of our fellow animals. It's not an equivalent. So I think it's a little bit of it's a deflection in a way.
Yeah, and I guess
also, go ahead, Rodrigo.
No, off you go, Nella. I've said enough, as usual.
I was thinking that lately there was this conversation here about left politicians sometimes commenting on images taken on Easter Sunday by right-wing politicians, images showing the animal, and forgetting that other members of the left this last couple of weeks have visited the farmers or the butchers to show solidarity with that, that industry. So the animal bodies are just, a card politicians play when it suits them to when it's it's popular, they play the card of the animal lover. When it's not popular, they play the card of the one loving traditions, whatever that means. So the left is really problematic on that. The right also, but you wouldn't expect it from the left, from those who fight about rights.
Yeah, and they are really our natural allies, and definitely it would be good to to kind of have more solidarity across these leftist movements. But of course, it has to work the other way as well, doesn't it? They have to kind of listen.
I've just seen your message, Wendy, about sticking to the hour. So we're over.
We're doing really well at that, aren't
we? We're over that. Do you want to bring it to an end, or do you want to do one of the other two? We've got the Seb thing is about a minute, I think, isn't it? But
should we end with Seb just as a little positive to say, because obviously
there's a positive,
we know that it's difficult to be.
Not like us to be positive, is it?
Oh, I think we are, definitely. Obviously, we highlight the challenges, but I think generally we are. And I think everyone here is as well, because we're all here fighting, and we're all here. We keep going despite all the odds and despite all the challenges and the obstacles that we face every minute of every day, because at the end of the day, we're allies to our fellow animals. And that, I think, fuels us more than anyone can actually imagine. If you care and you've got that empathy, it's an amazing fuel to keep going, isn't it?
It is. Okay, so this is the mighty Seb Alex, who has been a guest of ours a few times, I think. Remember the time when he led the minute silence for Reagan Russell? Yeah, remember that? Yeah.
Yes. That was a good few years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So anyway, here we go. And he's just started back on YouTube. Apparently, he's had a big long gap on YouTube, but now he's back. So that'd be worth checking out. So here we go.
Instead, I encourage you to think about the issue of animal rights and veganism from another angle, which is the importance of fighting when you see injustice. It is amazing. It would be amazing if we win this battle. However, the winning part is not the part that should keep you going. The part that should keep you going is the fact that you have to fight. You don't get in a fight in order to win. You get in a fight because fighting is the right thing to do when there's injustice. If, as a result, you win, that is even better. But do not give up when you feel like winning is so far away.
Absolutely.
The only thing that I was a little bit confused about that, you don't fight in order to win.
Yeah, I think maybe I think you fight in order to win eventually. But I think what he's trying to get over, because if you, within the context of the video in general, I think he was basically meaning we might not win straight away now. Like for some of us in our lifetime, we will probably not see a vegan world, but that doesn't mean that we don't keep fighting for it. And I think maybe it maybe means we want to win it in the bigger sense, but maybe for us, the personal wins are not going to happen regularly.
And it brings us full circle to where we started, which is that even if we think it a little bit negatively, we've got to carry on fighting, you know, because, yeah, you know, if I've always said to myself, well, you know, when people say to me, oh, we're never going to win, and I go, well, you know, keep fighting. You could be wrong, you know,
yes,
which is true.
Deb says it really well. I think that's the goal, but not the reason. Well said, Deb.
I just remember I saw a friend the other day, and she was wearing a T-shirt, and on the T-shirt it was written, it rhymes in Greek. It doesn't rhyme in English, but the point was, we'll never stop fighting, even if we know that we are never going to win, because this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. I think that's what we should take from that. Right. Okay. So I guess we're done.
Yeah, and just a reminder to everyone that we start now at the earlier time of 5 p.m, not 6 p.m. So just in case anyone was jumping on at 6, we've moved to a slightly earlier time.
I think you know, the onus must be on us. We've got to advertise that a bit more.
Do you know what's really difficult? And I'm really sorry to everyone for this, but we've lost our Facebook page. I don't know why, but we got banned off Facebook.
Because you're fraudulent, that's why, isn't it? You're just a big fraud.
And I know, some kind of imposters. That's why we got banned, is we're imposters, apparently.
We're
impersonating each other.
Impersonating. So yeah, we haven't got our Facebook event. Like we used to always post the Facebook event, and then
say that the appeal system is not working now either.
I couldn't get it to work. I was trying to, because it says, oh, if you don't agree, and when I press continue, it just keeps going round and round and round. So it doesn't let me actually challenge it in any way. So I'm a bit stuck with that. I will keep trying, but that's why normally we'd be on this with the event, and the time would be on there a little bit more. So it's a bit tricky, but we'll work it out.
I mean, if you left that up and we started another one, and
we could start another one. It just means we lose all our history of all of our.
Oh no, that'll still be there. It's just not in one place. We'd have to.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll start another one then.
Yeah, and then get done for fraud again.
I don't understand it at all. It's very weird.
It is, isn't it? Well, I want to thank everybody. I think we had about 32 people watching at one point, so that's very good. A lot more people on Facebook today, funny enough, mentioning that.
Oh yeah, that's strange considering we haven't got that event there, but
yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, I like what Lorraine said there.
Okay, folks. Now we do have something for 2 weeks' time. We've already got that lined up, right? So,
we do.
Yeah. So we're talking to Marcus Wybrow, who's just put a new book out about the animal movement, and so we'll be talking to him. And there's an old mate of mine from the 80s called Kim Storwood, and we're going to try and get Kim on, because he's done a wonderful thing. He's moved away from Peter Singer, and he's moved to Tom Reagan. So there's a positive thing to end with. So
and is an advocate for ecofeminism as well. So
the main label he would attach to himself now is ecofeminist. So you can't go wrong with that now.
Lorraine's saying she likes 5, but 4 would be better. Lorraine.
Oh, I can't see the thing. What was that? Oh,
Lorraine says, I much prefer 5, but 4 would be better.
Yeah.
Winky
we should
face.
have one every day, the same one every day, but a different time. So
keep people on their toes.
Yeah. Right, everyone. we'll
thanks,
see you
everyone.
again,
Really,
we'll
Thank you for
everyone.
joining.
We'll definitely see you in 2 weeks because we've got a show lined up. So bye for now.
Take care, everyone. See you soon.